Let's briefly introduce all these several different kind of estates, and we just talked about what are the estates. Estates are not necessarily that you own this thing. It's just basically some extent to the right that you kind of can use it to a certain extent. So if you really have to define it very precisely in a legal term, it's going to be a long definition. But after you use it for a while, you kind of understand what is going on. Basically, you don't have to own it, and then you can still kind of get some part of the right of this whole particular property. Just because real estate properties are very big, they are large properties, has big value, and based on different ways, these value can be these rights and usage rights and selling rights and collateralizing rights. All of these rights can be chopped up in many different ways. Therefore, we have different forms of estates. Okay, so first type number one, fee simple estate. Fee simple estate is the most simple one that we always see all the time. For example, if I buy this house, I own it. I can use any part of the house that I want up to my liking, and that is fee simple estate. Okay, so very simple one. Life estate. Life estate is basically saying, yes, I do have the rights, but I don't have full ownership. I have the rights to this property only until when I die. After I die, I no longer have the property right anymore. For example, if a rich family, for example, donated the user right of a tennis court for a charity, right? So then that charity will have the life estates for that particular tennis court, because as long as this rich family, whoever is donating it, they actually, as long as they are still alive, and the charity or the church will still have the access, have the user rights to that particular tennis court. But let's talk about if that kind of a property, when this donor died, and then this estate is passed on to his next generation, and most likely in the contract they say, oh no, you are not going to keep having this particular piece of tennis court forever. It's just not something like I would like you to. When I donate it, I would like you to enjoy it right now, but it's just not something that I want to just permanently give you. So in that sense, before this donor dies, he can give this property estate to his heir, and for his heir, then whoever his son, his daughter, his family, for them this becomes a reversion, meaning that whenever this lady dies, then this tennis court will give the property rights back. So for the donor's heir, they kind of own the property, except for they cannot have access and full usage right to that tennis court right now. They will have to wait until the donor actually passes away, and then they can get it back, and they call it reversion. I hope this example can make it clear. If in that sense the tennis court, so if the church who currently kind of temporarily have the life estate, if they give whatever that life estate to somebody else, then that somebody else will have what we call the remainder. So basically a remainder is saying, until before the reversion happens, before the estate is given back to the original owner's heir or whoever is the holder of the reversion, then whatever the remaining part of it will be the remainder. And that would be the only places that it's a little bit confusing. And other than that, then we have leasehold estates, and the leasehold estate goes sometimes from year to year, or sometimes it goes for years, which is easy to understand. Sometimes for commercial properties, and you lease it for say 5 years. For every contract, you lease it for 5 years, and then when you lease it for every 5 years, then what you get is an estate for years, right? It goes on for several years. Some of the properties you have to lease it from year to year. It goes on. The lease has to be renewed every year, so that would be the estate from year to year. So these are you can kind of see, because of the rights, property rights, usage rights are so complicated for real estate, you can chop it up in many different ways. And all of these, including say life estates, remainder, reversion, all of those still can be sold, can be gifted, and those can be also used as a collateral to borrow money. So it can look a little bit complicated at first, but gradually you will get used to it.